What's good? What's good? What's good, family? This is Raw Truth Media. Give you the raw content that you deserve, that you need. And I'm joined by my brother, grand fam, Derek Bordeaux. How you doing?
Doing great. Beautiful day out here in Southern Cali. Pleasure for you to have me on here. Appreciate it. I don't know if you can hear me okay, but your screen kind of froze up.
Maybe.
I'm not getting your communication on this side.
No.
Can you hear me okay?
Let me do this real quick. Family, make sure to like and share this video. How about now?
There you go. It says when you start talking, it goes away.
No doubt. You can hear me right now?
I heard no doubt. Right. Yes, I can. Much better.
Yeah, I was saying about the Lakers, man. I see you got the LeBron James jersey in full effect, my brother.
Hey, Laker love. We having fun out here this year. Well, this playoff season. This year was kind of scary. As you know, we're not too used to losing too consistently out here in Lakerland. So we're glad we put something together for, us Laker lovers to be proud of.
No doubt. Now, let's talk about the interesting stuff. The NFL draft, and there was only one HBCU player drafted, Bolden. And I don't know if you guys looked at the video. I said there was two players that I thought would be drafted, was Mark Evans from UAPB and as well as Bolden from Isaiah Bolden from Jackson State, because he's had a fast 40 time, nation's leader returner. So I thought that a team would look at him and draft him. One of those is true, Isaiah Bolden. And some people are saying that the COVID year messed up a lot of things. There was a lot of older players. I don't know if you paid attention to that, my brother, but I'm going to give you an example. Tyler Shoemaker, the tight end from Michigan, I just realized now he's 25 years old. And then you see a lot of players that were 24, 26 years old drafted. So maybe that played a part. But do you think that there's an underlying issue with what's going on with HBCUs not really getting noticed by the NFL?
I can't say it's an underlying issue, even though that's a strong possibility, because it is business. And we know when it comes to business, there's underlying issues, right?
Yes.
But to me, when you're in the business of winning, you're going to take whoever it is that can help you win. If your job is to win. Now, you said there was two players in all of HBCU that you thought would be drafted.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
So what are our chances if you only see two, and you cover HBCUs, and you only see two? What do you think people see that don't cover HBCUs? Maybe one or two. So we won on that one 50%. Out of the two people we thought, one of them went. Now, I also know a lot of Power 5 college players I thought would be drafted that weren't. So, in my opinion, we have to do better at advertising ourselves. And not just advertising ourselves in general, but advertising ourselves versus the people that we know are being looked at by the NFL. My opinion. And that doesn't have to mean HBCU teams have to go play Power 5 schools every week, one or two a season, because Think about it. If you're analyzing a player, how many games of his do you need to watch to know if he's that guy you want or not?
I'll say 2 to be safe, but 1 or 2. If you play a really good juggernaut team, let's say somebody plays Georgia and it's a money game, that's really all you need to watch is that game. And
Just
look at
saying.
last year, Jacoby Durant, he had that one amazing game against Clemson where he had 2 picks. So you don't have to. I'm hearing people saying, "Oh, you have to play. They need to be playing like 3 or 4 FBS teams." No, you really just need to play one good one, so you don't damage the players' bodies. It takes a toll playing against those big offensive and defensive line in the Power 5 schools in a depth as well.
Well, we'll have to say, well, you have to prove that you can if you want to be drafted. You have to prove that you can go up against that every week. I'm not saying, but I'm saying play 1 or 2, and that's make sure that is seen. Make sure that film is seen. It doesn't take much for somebody, an NFL scout, an NFL coach, whatever. They can watch a person for a minute or 2 and know if he's what they're looking for. Now, of course, they might do the background stuff, personality, family background, all that. But as far as his athletic ability, it doesn't take much. You can see it right off the bat. So, for example, we'll talk about, like you said, we'll mention Graham fan. They're playing LSU this year. Our boys, our young men that want to be looked at for the NFL draft need to come with it that game. Win or lose, they need to come with it. And next year, you never know, there might be 1 or 2 Power 5 schools on the table. Who knows? But we need to advertise ourselves doing well against the people that are being looked at.
And that's a good point that you just stated. And when I mentioned that I thought heading to the draft there would be 2, really, I wanted it to be 8. And I said this a bunch of times. I wanted it to be 8, and I thought there was players good enough, in my opinion, to be 8. But I also know how the NFL is. And I also know that you're looking at players who had produced at the FBS levels in great conferences, not get drafted. The brother from Alabama, the cornerback, I just had his name down, but he's from Cali.
Oh, yeah.
Eli Ricks. Eli Ricks was not drafted.
Right. And I've been watching him since he was in high school. His uncle was Tyson's 7-on-7 coach. Q Ricks, my man. Really good coach, really good trainer. But there's so much that goes into it. A lot of it, we don't know. I haven't been on that level. I do a lot of studying and listening to coaches, scouts, reporters who are on that level, trying to see, the insides of everything going on. And I just think we have to put ourselves in position to be seen and be seen against top tier talent, whether it be combines, camps, training sessions, games. It doesn't matter. Just surround yourself with the people that are being looked at and compete with them on all those different things. Quick example, TJ Houshmandzadeh, great student of Hugh Jackson. He does wide receiver training out here in Southern Cali. Hugh told Tyson, recommended, prior to him coming to Grambling, go train with TJ. Tyson has an unbelievable, great trainer in Jeff Johnson, who trains Amon-Ra St. Brown, Equanimeous St. Brown, and a host of other NFL talent. Great, great trainer. But I told Tyson, you need to also implement who Hugh referred you to. We're definitely keeping Mr. Johnson. We're not going anywhere. But you need to implement who Hugh referred you to, because he referred you to him for a reason. Like I said, he's a student of the coach you're going to play for. So he can teach you that coach's language. He's an NFL analyst on TV. That's a great connection to have when it comes time for you to hopefully drop your name in the hat to be invited to the combine so you can earn your way into the draft. kids, kids will be kids. They kind of want to be headstrong. And like I said before, with mine, sometimes you have to let them do it their way so they can figure out their way isn't, not only does it may not work, but it's also not the only way. And sometimes you need to take heed to what people are referring you to, because they're referring you to a reason, especially people that are at the place you're trying to go. So he just got back home a week and a half ago. I told him to take 2 weeks off. We'll get, have some fun. Go visit friends, roam, paint Long Beach, enjoy yourself. After Mother's Day, we get back to work. So we're getting back to work Monday. And we'll be over there with his normal trainer and, of course, with TJ. Now you see, you need to learn your coach's language. You need to learn the language of the NFL if that's where you're trying to go. And we need to start it as early as we're able to. So that's one way of putting yourself in the circle.
That's great. That's great parenting. And before I go on, let me read these comments real quick. Coach Simmons, subscribe to his channel. Salute to you, my brother. He said, let's not forget that the entire FCS gets around 10. The entire group of 5 had 30, around 30. That's an interesting point. And actually, it was the lowest number in recent years for the FCS, which was just 10, because they usually get around 20 plus here and there. And I'm talking about FCS and Division II all combined. So it was a low year for the FCS. And shout out to Ken Clark, because he's the one that pointed it out a couple weeks ago, that a couple of days after the draft, that the COVID year may have something to do with the numbers. You see the 6-year seniors. Shoot, you even seen seniors that played for 7 years because they had medical red shirts and a standard red shirt, plus the COVID year.
Right.
And then you add 4 years, that's 7 years. So it affected a lot of things, and it made me just sit back and analyze the situation. If you do the math right, for it to be normal again, instead of the 6 and 7 year seniors, that'd probably be until 2025, if we're being honest.
We are. But also, if you're going, once you become, you're a young man, 19, 20, 21, 22, you still have a long way to go. You have a lot you need to learn still, a lot you can learn still. We got to do everything to maximize that opportunity. Everything you can to close the gap between you and people that are older than you. Because let's say 30-year-olds might be better drivers than 25-year-olds, but it's only through what? Experience. So how do we close that gap to where the people that are 2 or 3 years older than you aren't so much more experienced than you are? Can we train more? Can we change our training? Can we add an extra day? Can we surround ourselves with other people that can help us, again, close that gap where we can learn more? Instead of saying, like, when you come in as a freshman, say, to college, instead of saying, man, I got 4 years, I'm going to, take my time. Act like you have 1 year. Have a sense of urgency about gaining the experience and learning as much as you can. Have a sense of urgency about yourself. And that's one thing I try to preach to my sons. Of course, a sense of urgency and work ethic to a man that's married, has kids, has a wife, has a job, is going to be completely different to a 19-year-old kid who has only had to go to school. But you try to just paint the picture and let them know you don't have as much time as you think, and you don't need to take that much time. You know what I mean? If it's gonna take you 4 years just because you will need to gain experience, you need to learn, why not up your work? Let's up your work a little bit, and maybe we can cut that to 3 years, maybe even 2 years, or maybe you can take the 4 years and you're 22 and another person took the 4 years, they're 25, but you guys are neck and neck because you put in the work. You put in the same amount of work he did. He may be 25, but he may be training 3 days of work, 3 days a week. You're 22, you're training, preparing your body, resting your body, whatever it may be that has to do with your athletics. You might be doing it 6 days a week. So in 2 years, you done caught up to him. And in another 2 years, you're going to pass him by leaps and bounds. So I don't know, use the numbers with it. That's one way to look at it, one way to close the gap. You talk about, these kids are the parent people are so much older. Yeah, that may be the case, but I believe there's a way to kind of tighten up that cushion a little bit. Like I said, once you hit the young adult years, 18, 19 is a big difference. You're not going to compare to somebody 24. They're way bigger, stronger than you. But, when you're 21, 22, and someone else is 24, 25, there shouldn't be that much difference anymore.
And shout out to Hoop Jargon and shout out to Big Spell One. Thank you for tuning in. Coach Simmons, he mentioned that one of the biggest problems with HBCU players are training. I'm happy your son has a trainer. That makes a big difference right there.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. You don't know what you don't know, right? But I do know that I didn't make it as far as my son is trying to go. So in order for him to understand what it takes to get there, I need to put him with someone who's been there. No offense to all these other people. But if I'm trying to get somewhere, I want to talk to somebody that's been there and handled it, did well with it. So being with a trainer is so important. Here's what's more important. Practicing what your trainer taught you. So when you can go back to him, say you see him 2 or 3 times a week, next time you go back to him, you've mastered what he taught you, and now he can teach you something else. Don't leave it to your trainer to teach you something and then practice it with you all the time. Take it home and you work on that. And then when you come back to see him, you can move on to the next step. You're not stuck at level 1 for 6 months. That's another way of closing the gap between you and older players. Again, I'm not saying, we're so special, we're so different, but that's what we do. And it's worked well for us. I sit there and I watch my kids training. I don't drop them off and leave or any of that. I sit there and I watch. And when we get home, the next day, 2 days later, because I don't like to overtrain, we'll work on it. We'll work on it to where they get so good at it that now becomes part of the warm-up. Whatever drills they were doing 6 weeks ago are their warm-up now today to get ready for the new drills. And it's worked very well. Is that the case for everybody? Of course not. But I'm just saying, if you want to, bridge that gap between you and more experienced players, that's one way to do it. Because a lot of those NFL players that my kids train with, some of them, and you can see it, when they come to their trainer, that's the only time they put in the work. For whatever reason, maybe they have the check already. I don't know. For whatever reason. But then you can also see the ones that went home and worked on it and then came back ready for something new. So definitely get yourself a trainer and then put in the work outside of him too, or her. You gotta be serious. Gotta be careful with that nowadays.
Yeah, just listening to you speak reminds me of my father training my brother Mike, man, because he, as you know, he was a D1 athlete, and my father would just observe everything. Very stoic, very quiet. Now he would yell out, "Trust your training, Mike. Trust your training." He would say all that, but everything that he watched from the trainer at the time, his trainer, his name was Ronnie, did a great job with my brother, just getting him to a D1 level. And then when you come back home, everything that Mike did with his trainer did at home, and made sure to not forget it and study it. And that made an impact, and that made him a better player. Let's talk about also the will to win, the will to be dominant. That's It doesn't matter how old you are. If you want to be great and if you want to put in the work, nothing can stop you. It's all on you as a person. That's one thing I respect about your son, Tyson. I'm not judging all these kids transferring out, but I'm giving an example. He understands the process of being a young freshman, being a young man. Well, he was 17 years old as a freshman. A lot of kids, they'll be either barely playing or redshirting, and then they want to transfer out. But I love that
Right.
mentality that he has just to keep growing and getting better. And I looked at that spring game, looking at the footage. He's stronger, quicker, and that shows the benefits of redshirting.
It helped. It gave him a chance to mature. Just to correct you, he was a
Yes.
fresh 18 coming into college. He wasn't 17
Okay.
anymore. He was a fresh. He had just turned 18. So you're close to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, he didn't want to do the red shirt because he played the first couple games, and he had 4 targets, 2 catches, 2 drops, and the last drop he had was very significant in their loss. So he messaged me soon as the game was over. We're going back and forth messaging because he was just in pain. You're not used to not succeeding for your team, right?
Right.
So his whole plan was the following week to get his get back. No, I'm proving everybody that I'm belong, blah, 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 blah. So he didn't want a red shirt. And so his coach lets me know we're offering the red shirt. And I said, well, talk to him about it. Tyson didn't want to do it. I call him. We talk for a while, and I give him the benefits of it. And he says, okay, I'll talk to my coach. So I'm thinking, okay, he's going to do it. Coach texts me, yeah, he still doesn't want to do it. And I said, well, whose decision is it? Is it yours or his? And coach said, well, it's actually yours. And I said, well, that's easy. That's easy. You're gonna sit down for a while and observe. Dad, what are you doing? Why? I don't want to do it. Here we are 2 months later. Oh my God, Dad, thank you so much for doing that. I see the benefit now. Granted. So with him, like you said, most of my kids are, but Tyson is an animal. He's a real animal. He hates to lose, and he wants to win at all costs. He's been like that from day. My wife is the same way, but probably 10 times worse. They just have to win, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to get to that point. My job is to teach him and show him and put him in front of what it takes to get to that point. A lot of people say, I'll do whatever it takes, which is great, but no one has shown them what it takes. So it's not their fault that they're slacking, just no one has put them in position to eat. Put the food there, they're going to eat it. So my job now is to say, this is, you gave, and me and my kids, we go over this often. I mean, every few months, because they're growing, so their mind changes. I have them put down what their goal is. And then we talk about what they believe it takes to get to that goal, and we put it down. And then I'll add, we'll have a conversation. This is what it takes to get to the goal you put down. That's not my goal, that's yours. So we put down all the things it takes. Okay, I need to lift weights 5 times a week. I need to be with my trainer 3 times a week. Okay, I need to take off this day to rest my body. Okay, this day I need to be in the jacuzzi. These are the vitamins I need to take. This is what I need to drink. This is how all of it. So now when it comes time to reach your goal, you just look at what we wrote and you follow the script. It's that simple. And that's what's worked. So as a kid, as a parent, you have to make sure they're doing what they said they were going to do. You said you were going to do this. Did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? Him redshirting and being in Hugh Jackson's program taught him to do that for himself without me having to do it. Now, I still go over what the plan is, but I really don't need to follow up with him to make sure he's working it anymore. And I thanked Hugh Jackson for showing my son what it meant to work at something consistently, not 1 or 2 days, not 1 or 2 months, but for an entire year, which will transform into a lifetime. And every year, I hope we mature and we become more and more engaged in being consistent at going after that goal.
That's real leadership right there. And something I appreciate. The parents, man, they make a difference on shaping the young athlete's mind. Now, we all know when they go off to college that it's the journey, the first step to manhood. But man, I don't. In life in general, I don't know what I'll do without my parents. Every time I try to do things my way, they say, DJ, I'm telling you, listen to what we said. We've been there before. And every time I never listen, then something else wrong happened. And I call them and be like, man, y'all was right. But let's talk about something fun. A team that you enjoy to watch, that we all like to see, Grambling State. And I'm telling you right now, from things I've seen, heard from spring, and this is the early installation of the offense, the G5 offense. They're going to be a fast-paced team, and they're flying under the radar. And it seems that Grambling fans, they have no problem with it because they want to show in the season what they've developed. But can you tell me what you expect from Grambling coming into the fall season, and how good this team could be potentially?
I expect to see a lot more discipline from the players and from the coaches, a lot more cohesion. So there was so much, you can see it if you know the program or you've been following the program, you could see so much confusion last year. I didn't see a lot of frustration, which shows the professionalism of Coach Jackson and his staff. So that's what rubbed a lot of people wrong. A lot of people thought they were okay with what was happening because they weren't wearing it on their face in public. Very professional of them. So I expect to see, of course, a lot of speed, but the overall discipline where we're not making so many mistakes, we're not shooting ourselves in the foot, and we're connecting a lot more confidence. It was hard to be confident last year when a lot of those players had only been together for 3 months. And, the biggest talk for Grambling last year was the incoming freshman. My opinion, if you're a dominant college program, you don't want freshmen coming in and being able to take over. That's scary. That's kind of scary. So while everybody was saying, oh, we got this many freshmen, blah, 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 and this freshman's going to start and blah, blah, blah. That was, to me, I didn't say it out loud, but that worried me. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to be starting a freshman quarterback. That's a true freshman, true 18-year-old. That was scary. Even with my son going in there and he got a lot of playing time. But that was scary to me because I personally, because I know him, I know what he did before he got there. I know where his mind was because we talk so often. I was saying to myself, he can be out there, but as far as making an impact, he's not mature enough yet. And what I mean by the maturity, I mean being able to handle listening to 50,000 people scream, the band, the person across from you, like you said, you're 18, he's 23. Being on your own, having to do homework, turn in assignments, being up at 6 a.m. At somewhere that's a 3-hour time difference. All those things were gonna factor in to his playing, his performance. I knew it was. I tried to prepare him for it, but I couldn't because he hadn't gone through it yet. So everything I said sounded like it was way out there. It wasn't him. You can talk to him now and he'll tell you. I was like, you got to keep doing this, so it becomes a habit. So when your mind is disturbed with everything going on in life, you still perform. He didn't understand. And it was kind of hard to explain. I had to let him go through it and feel the pain of it and then come home and say, okay, now I get it. So now instead of us butting heads, we're working together. So I expect that exact same thing, the maturity from so many of those players. He's not the only one that went through it. I expect a complete evolution of the players and the program. Like I said, from the players all the way up to the coaches. Everything just seems so much more cohesive and so much tighter and so much more confident now. I'm excited to see it. I really can't wait. I'm seeing the people that they're bringing in as far as recruits, and whenever they post a recruit, I watch the film because that's just what I do. And you never know, you know what a high school player is going to do once they get off on their own. But you can look and see some of these players that have been doing the same thing consistently for a few years, and then you're praying to yourself that that's probably more of a habit than something that's just going to happen while they're here, and then while they're in high school, and then they'll be done with it. So I've been watching a lot of these players, and I've been following them. Some of the ones that have committed, and I see that for the past 2, 3, maybe some even 4 years, they've been performing consistently at that high level. That's one great thing that I've noticed. So I'm very excited about this upcoming season. Hats off to the staff for sticking to what they said they were going to do, and I believe they got some things turned around. And I'm just excited about it.
I'm gonna tell you what I'm excited about as well. I cannot wait to see what Miles Crawley does with this offense. If he's listed as the quarterback, of course, there's competition. Chavez showed some glimpses as a freshman. Remember, he's a freshman, and if you're a freshman quarterback and you're starting, and your team is not full of, veteran stars, there's going to be a learning curve. Everybody look at Shadir Sanders, who I think has a great football IQ, has potential. When he was with Jackson State, as we all know, the transfer seniors that came from FBS programs, high-level recruits, you mix that in, it makes the transition smoother. But I'm interested to see. Looking at Crawley's film, he has a cannon for an arm, and I compare him to a mold of clay. Everything you need in a quarterback's right there. Height, strength, arm talent is just putting it all together. I can't wait to see what he does.
His confidence is through the roof as well. And one of the great things about Julian Calvez, who's a really good friend of Tyson's now, which I'm glad to see, he's patient and he's smart. There's a highlight of the spring game, and Tyson made a great, 40, 45-yard catch. Really nice, route, really nice catch. And you see on the sideline, Calvez running and jumping up and down, celebrating that. Your backup quarterback, well, I shouldn't even say his backup. Your younger quarterback is celebrating the older quarterback and celebrating his friend while he's on the sideline. That's huge. That's huge. That shows you what type of person you have back there. And I was so happy to see it. So I talked to Tyson. I said, "You see Julian on the sideline?" He said, "Yeah, he was pumped up for us." You can't, what more can you ask for? And this is somebody who actually started last year. He's celebrating the person he has to compete against. That's a beautiful thing. That's the cohesion I'm talking about.
That's a wonderful thing. Another thing that I'm interested to see is Grambling's defense. I think it will be vastly improved. I think their D-line will be the strength of their defense.
Their D-line is going to be strong. Their linebackers are fast. They're fast. And there's so much size on that D-line as well. I haven't really seen so much of the DBs, but I do know, like I said, their linebackers have a lot of speed and awareness. And that D-line has size. And, of course, running that hill and at that stadium all the time, they're going to get some explosive and faster as well. So, yeah, like I said, I just think it's going to be a completely different team all the way around, as well as a completely different coaching staff, as far not so much as personnel, but just in the approach to the game, the approach to each other, and just the brotherhood that's been created. When you lose together, that does something to you. and they're wanting to come out of it together. And I think everything is going well.
Yeah, that Swac West is going to be something. Uh, I've mentioned, and many other content creators in this space has mentioned that they're predicting that this will probably want to be one of the most parity type of years in the SWAC, both east side of the division and west side of the division. Even though some people have FAMU winning the conference, and some people have Jackson State, and others may have a wild card in Prairie View A&M, you just don't know. You just don't know, and that's what makes me excited about next season. Um, but I'm gonna tell you, there's gonna be there'll probably be some games where a SWAC team is heavily favored and they're playing a team they should beat by double digits and may get upsetting. You never know.
And that's the excitement that needs to be shared and advertised across the nation. That's how you start getting other people to take notice of what's going on with the HBCUs as far as their talent. Like I said in previous discussions you and I have had, out here
Yes.
in Cali, we don't know too much about it. So I understand when a lot of NFL executives and all that say the same thing. We don't know much about it. I understand because we're in the same boat. So when I was back in entrepreneurial school, one of the things that we were taught was set yourself on fire and people will come from miles to watch you burn. We got to set ourselves on fire. Got to set ourselves on fire. It helps when you have a lot of the coaches come down from the higher ranks to come back and coach at HBCUs. It helps when you have people like Cam Newton telling people, take a look at the HBCU. All that stuff helps. We need more of it. We need it consistently. The more mouths talking about it, the more ears that are going to be able to listen. So like the excitement you have, that needs to be everywhere across the board.
And it starts with, and I'll admit it as well, content creating. Even myself, we gotta push more content equally. And I get it. There's times we all gotta be real that's listening, where Jackson State is the hottest thing right now going. And let's be honest about that. But as content creators, we got to equally distribute that access. We got to keep
Well,
talking
and
about all
also
these other schools.
everybody else uses us for their content except us.
Yep.
When you watch, especially when it comes to athletics, look at all the commercials. They're based around our culture. Everything is. Just look at the State Farm. Who's the representative right now for State Farm? Allstate. We don't own them companies, but they use us to advertise. We got to start using us to advertise. Same exact way. Advertise what we do. When I share a lot of the posts and stuff from HBCUs, whether it be the dancers, the band, the cafe, the people that are graduating, man, I get so many comments and so many likes in my story from people that have no idea what's going on over there, but they like what they see. We gotta do better at getting that out there.
Yeah, everybody gotta do their part, and I think it's possible. Sharing the content's important. I know you do, Brother Derek. You share on all platforms, it seems. But can you imagine if everyone shares the content or whatever social media they use? You see something, content that's about HBCUs being promoted and saying, hey, this is such and such. Go watch their channel. They have excellent content. It's very simple. If we do more of that, the numbers will go up, the algorithm will go up, and then the popularity will go up. It doesn't take just one person. It takes a collective unit.
And consistently, like I always preach consistency. Consistently, we have to keep doing it over and over because, let's face it, our culture is cool. Everybody loves our culture. You know, everybody loves our culture. Well, when I say everybody, I mean all different nationalities love our culture. We got to use that to our advantage. And not some. I'm
True.
not talking about making money off of it or anything like that. I'm just talking about advertising what we have to offer.
Yeah, that's powerful. This brother, this ain't even Sunday we preaching, man.
Right. Oh man, can I put you on a quick 20-second hold so I can grab my charger?
Yes, and
Give me 20 seconds.
I'll put the layout out until you come back, my brother. This discussion has been very, very productive. Everything's being discussed. If you have any questions for Mr. Bordeaux, put it in the comment section. What are some things that HBCUs can improve on? Give your comments. Shout out to everyone that supports this channel. I appreciate every single one of you. Hit the like button, share this video. I repeat, share this video. We got to be consistent. I see some people share HBCU content that supports HBCU content, but it's not enough. If we do that collectively on all types of content, watch how the numbers go. I guarantee it. I remember someone messaged me and said, when are you going to talk about more Prayer via NM? I would love to do that. But if I post this video, are you going to share it? Are you going to support the video? And if you do that, watch every single content creator talk about your favorite school, what they need to do better, what they're doing great. Also, shout out to Coach Simmons. Shout out to Hoop Jargon Media Network, to Coach Walker, Tomorrow Leader Sports Network, Ken Clark in the 1400 Media, Kobe of the Blitz City Podcast, Swac Buzz, HBCU Game Day, HBCU Overdrive with my dog Doc. There's a lot of channels out here. Jeff Lightly Sports. Look at all the names I just named. And you can't tell me there's no power in independent media. We're changing the game. We are changing the game. And we're just getting started. I think we got Mr. Bordeaux back. All right. And we're back.
Okay, sorry about that. I
Hey,
never
no
used
problem.
my phone for this before.
That was right on time because I needed some water. I ain't gonna lie, I needed some water, my brother.
So back to what you were saying a few minutes ago, just about when you mentioned my son, redshirting and maturing a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to say, to all parents, like I say, this is just stuff is my opinion. This is what has worked for me and mine. But find out what their schedule is when they're at school. If you feel they come back a better person when they're at school, talk to them, find out what was going on while they were there, and try your best to emulate it while they're at home. Keep it going. So when they go back, just like I mentioned before, they're even better than when they left. Not the same person when they left and coach, or still has to start from there. No, we're gonna come back. We're gonna emulate a lot of the same stuff. You get up, you practice over there at 6 a.m. Let's practice here at 6 a.m. You do this, you do that. Let's make sure we do that here. What time do you eat there? Let's make sure. What do you eat? Let's make sure. Because if you see him, like I said, you see him come back better, keep it going. Keep it going. Let them leave you a little bit better as well. I know this for a fact. There are a lot of kids, or I call them kids. I'm 47, so they're young men, but I call them kids. but they go into college as 4-star, 5-star, whatever. And a lot of times, their coaches may have given them a pass in high school where they could kind of show up late or not have to work as hard. And it's a complete shock when they get to college and the coaches aren't going for that anymore. So a lot of times it's just habits that need to be unlearned and disciplines that need to be learned. So that's why I say when they come home, help them, keep them same disciplines going so they don't go back to school having to start all over, relearning all the stuff that they've learned this past year. A lot of kids go back home and get spoiled all over again. And that's hard. It's not their fault. But for a lot of parents that say, I don't know how to do it, this, and that, just follow the regiment that they came from at school. Find out what it was and do your best to follow it. Keep it going. Help the coaches. Help the coaches help you. You know what I mean? Put them in position to help your son become better. Again, that's just my opinion. I talked to Hugh, I talked to the Tyson's offensive coordinator. He talks to a strength and conditioning coach, and I find out what do you see? What do you see him needing to work on? What did he do well? Because once they tell me what he did well, we're not going to focus on that anymore. You already do that well. We're going to focus on what they tell me you need to work on. Now, again, this is how you do it. This is who's going to help you do it. This is the time and the place. Hopefully you go. There's nothing more I can do. I'm not forcing you to go. I'm not, because if I have to force you to do it at this point, it's not for you. But if I tell you when, where, and it's all set up to where all you have to do is show up and perform, it should be easy. Cakewalk. So that's where we're at right now. And hopefully, a lot of other young players are in the same boat now that they're home, so they can all return back to school better than when they left, athletically and mentally.
That's what athletics should be about, right there. The progression, the like I mentioned earlier, the journey to manhood. All of it's a process. And again, I'm not trying to down the transfer portal era, but I really hope that parents are talking with their kids. I know a lot of them are grown men now, but their children about the journey is never easy. But when you make it, and you make it to the mountaintop, and you go through all that adversity, that's going to prepare you for life. That's going to prepare you for any tough situation that will happen. We got to preach that more, because we have seen players who, I'm going to give an example of HBCUs, that have transferred out and they think they're going to make the NFL. And you just look, just one person made it, Tank Dell? Everybody thinks they're going to be Tank Dell, but that's an anomaly.
Yeah. I study a guy who writes on leadership, self-development, John C. Maxwell. He says, bullshit will get you to the top, but it won't keep you there. So you doing all this other stuff to just to get your name out there, to be advertised as this, advertised as that, jump in the transfer portal, blah, 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 blah. No matter where you go, there you are. You're still you. So my son hasn't talked about that at all yet, but I'm just, even if he was to bring that to me, I'm like, all right, as a receiver, you give me, for a season, give me 50 catches, 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. And if no one is talking to you or interested in you from the higher ups because your platform isn't big enough, then maybe we'll think about something. But until you've proven yourself a dominant force where you are, why leave? Why leave if you haven't dominated where you're at already? That doesn't even make sense to me.
And Derek, you ain't just talking about just a regular good year. You're talking about dominance.
But everybody can have a good year.
Mm-hmm.
If you know what I mean, if you dominate and you still have people that aren't interested in you, and you can't get an invite to the combine because they want to see, you change the logo on your helmet, then I don't know. Then that's out of our control. Maybe that's something you have to look at. But until you do every single thing within your power to dominate, you should be staying right where you are. Unless, if coach is just telling you, this is about to be your senior year, you're not going to play. We have this person in front of you, that person in front of you, this person in front of you. And from what they've shown, they're going to stay in front of you based on what you've shown as well. Then maybe it's time for you to go. But a freshman leaving or a sophomore leaving, I hate to, I don't really understand what's going on everybody's side. But I'm like, where are you going to go if you can't even dominate where you are? You're not the man where you are. Why would you? I don't know. I don't get it. That's beyond me.
So that's what facts, man. Like I understand. Like, I would love for the HBCU players that are upcoming seniors to stay. But if you have dominated and you graduated and you got better, let's say better offers financially, as long as you graduate, at least you do that. When you leave as a sophomore or freshman, I'm saying to myself, who's teaching these kids?
With no film. Like, they have practice. All they have is practice film. Like,
right.
Where are you?
Like, who you gotta, like, where's the navigation to this transfer portal process? Because it seems like everyone's in the air. Hey, if you transfer to this school, hey, all your dreams are gonna come true. You be the first one drafted. And look at all the HBCU players who were drafted throughout the years, right? Throughout the decade. They've dominated for multiple years. And their peak years was their upperclassmen year.
So now you see why I say I don't want just a good year. We need a dominating year. And the dominating year should get you where you're trying to go. Now, I believe, like I said, I'm just now learning about HBCU culture, everything.
Right.
But I'm from Southern Cali, so is our coach, Hugh Jackson. So I believe in Hugh. I believe, from what I've seen, from what I've heard from people I've talked to, from people that know him, if you deserve it, he can help you get the invite to the combine. Once you get to the combine, it's on you.
Mm-hmm.
But if we haven't done everything in our power to earn that decision from him, it's on us. It's not on him. For example, a lot of people say, well, he didn't send anybody. Like, give him 3 or 4 years of you working under him diligently. Then let's see if he feels that you're ready to go to the combine. Because nobody wants college players drafted more than their coach in college. That makes them look good, right? And some of them actually really care. They care a lot. So I'm like, give him 3 or 4 hard, consistent years, and let's see if you earn that invite to the combine. That's everybody. My son, our third son, Titus.
Right.
You know of Titus.
Mm-hmm.
Titus he's one of the top receivers in the state. By the end of the season, I believe it'll be in the country. So many coaches are talking to him, so many colleges, and they're all telling him, well, you haven't his offer from Grambling. Like, why would you do that? You're bigger than that. You're bigger. You need to be at a Power 5, blah, blah, blah. And, I respect their opinion, and he listens, because we're still open to where he might go to college, depending on what the best fit is for him.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying, if you have the opportunity to play for someone who speaks the NFL language, I don't care what the school is. You have somebody that understands what developing is to get to the next level. You have somebody that has the contacts at the next level. You have someone who coached at the next level, so he knows what he needs to prepare you for. How can you say no to that? Again, we haven't committed anywhere. We're still open. We're still listening. But I mean, to tell a kid you're bigger than that, you shouldn't go there if you want to go to the NFL. I mean, they have no idea what they're talking about. Look who was running the program. I don't know. That's just my opinion on things.
Yeah, like Franklin mentioned, not a thing is a giving. You must earn your spot. So
Got to
true.
earn it. You got to earn it, and parents got to be honest with ourselves and know if our kids earn that or not. Just like
Thank
I
you.
said, I'm waiting to see. I'm waiting to see how things go with my son being home these next 7 weeks to see if I can say, okay, he's really ready to turn. He's really ready to take on the responsibility of an entrepreneur because he's investing in him. His body, his craft is his business. So, are you willing to put in 6, 7 days a week if necessary to be great at your business? To make sure your business gets off the ground because you're an entrepreneur. No one else is going to do it for you. So I'm waiting to see if those disciplines are consistently there right now. Like I said, it may or not be. I don't know yet. I gave him time off until after Mother's Day. So I'm waiting to see. Like, hey, all right, is it go time yet? You're 19. I don't know. Is it still a little too early, or are you ready to go? So, in my opinion, parents, we got to be more honest with ourselves and just thinking because your son does good that they should be drafted. Like you said, it needs to be a dominating performance on all fronts.
This has been a
So I
great
think we lost.
discussion, my brother, man, and we got to do this again because I had such a good time talking about football. Any last words before we roll? And before I go, I got to say, shout out to TC Taylor. We talked about this off the record. The way that he's recruiting, and people keep saying, "Oh, this is not prime," and this ain't this. If you're able to recruit talent, that's all you need to do. You don't have to be flamboyant. You don't have to be all in the videos. You can do it your way and get things done. And TC Taylor, what he has shown, he has an answer for everything. Any player that transfers out, what he does, he reloads.
I want to touch on that really quick before we go.
Yeah.
Shout out to TC, and I'm really excited. And again, no shade at what was going on before, but the relief of having to play with no pressure. Let's see what they're able to do without the pressure being on them now. Now you can just go out and play. The expectations aren't as high as they were. Now let's see if what they do being a lot more free to just go out there and let it all hang out. I'm excited for the program.
Amen to that, man. The pressure is different. It's on FAMU, and I respect FAMU's program. But they're
I
getting
love
it.
their program.
Yeah, I love it too. I appreciate Willie Simmons, and this is no shade at all to the prior coach of Jackson State. But if Willie Simmons has a great season and goes to the FBS, I doubt anyone would have a problem with it. He has done it the right way. He has elevated coaches. There's been a lot of stuff that happened at FAMU. You haven't heard him saying anything bad about the administration, none of that stuff. Keeping everything professional, and that's why he's a leader of man, has so much respect for them, but they're going to be the hunted. So it's interesting to see how they navigate through that.
Right. And like we keep talking about coaches coming, going. All we can ask for as a coach is just to stick to their word. Stick to what you say.
Thank you.
If you say you're going to do something, please stay until it's done. Or if you don't, you made it public that you were staying for that reason. Now make it public as to your reasons why you're not, and maybe people will understand. Don't. This is gonna sound bad. You know what? I don't care. Shit.
Yeah.
Don't say you're recruiting. Yeah, I don't care. What's the people get mad? They'll get over it. Shit. All right. Don't say you're recruiting based on our culture, and then leave the culture, but take the people you recruited based on the culture.
Talk to him.
I hope that made sense. Don't say you convinced somebody to come because they came to a homecoming game and that's what sold them. And now you take them out of that element because you left. Let them stay. Like you said, whatever sold them, let them experience it. Let them stay with it. My opinion. Don't use our culture to sell people and then take it away from them.
That's all we ask for, brother. Transparency. From when
Yeah,
you get to
I'm
an
gonna leave it at that.
HBCU to the end. And man, this has been an excellent stream. We will do another stream again. We will do another
Let's
stream.
do it.
And we're gonna call that, we're gonna keep the same title and call it part 1, part 2, shoot, until the season
Yeah,
starts.
sorry, I get a little long winded. You know how I get.
Oh no, you always got the floor here at Raw Truth Media. They love hearing the word from you. It's good to hear from parents who you just heard from Derek. He guides his kids, but he doesn't try to control everything. He even mentioned the time when he allowed them to mess up. And
lot.
That's what parents is all about. My father, he did the same thing. He knew I was gonna mess up in something. He'd be like, "Son, I knew you was gonna come back and call."
Yep. All you can do is be there when they come back, and then teach them how to not do it again.
Mm-hmm. We got Franklin. He said Lakers in 6. That's gonna be a tough game with the Nuggets. If we could slow down Jokic, he gonna get his. But if we could shut everybody else down, we got a chance. But yeah, that was Derek Bordeaux with an excellent ending to the stream. Thank you, brother, for joining the stream. We got to have more conversations about this. Family, let's keep sharing this video, this live stream throughout all social media platforms. Make sure to like this video. And I like with the ending of the stream when we talked about the transfer portal and navigating the transfer portal. Parenting, I repeat, parenting makes a difference. It all makes a difference. You got freshmen leaving early because they barely played. You got sophomores leaving because there's got to be a way to navigate through it. And hopefully that happens in the future. Lawrence, shout out to you. He said he thinks he can control the culture up there. There's only one HBCU culture, as we all know. It's nothing against him. Hey, I got nothing against what they doing up there, even though they left in bad terms. Of course, I'm still rooting on Shadir to have a good season. Now, speaking of Shadir, this is the last thing I'm going to say before I leave. For some time, I've always thought that Shadir would be a 4th-round pick at most, 3rd or 4th. He reminded me of Jacoby Brissett. And I predicted that he would be drafted by his senior year. Now, all the talk saying he's going to leave his junior year, I don't see it. This quarterback draft class, that is, in 2024 is, some say, the best in years. So if I was Shadir, I would leave my senior year. That's just my opinion, but he's going to do what he wants. Who Jargon in the building? He said, he is, bro. Who Jargon, he agrees with my sentiments. He says, agreed. Shadir is a 4-year kid. So I don't want to hear anyone say, oh, DJ, he just changing his opinion because he going to Colorado. Nope. I've been saying, and Hoop Jargon, he could vouch for that because I said it on this channel before. I said late 3rd to 4th round at most for Shadir. And I said by his senior year, this is when he was playing at Jackson State. But I think he's going to have a good career. Let's be honest, Colorado, it'd be a miracle to get 5 wins with that schedule. That schedule's tough. Lawrence says, I hope he does his thing up there. Yeah, Shadir, he left with class. He loved Jackson. But y'all know what it is. You got to play for your father. And in this channel and many channels like this, we advocate loyalty to fathers, to parents. That's very important. So I hope he puts up numbers. He's gonna need to put up numbers for Colorado, and I think he'll do his thing. And let's say Colorado wins only 5 or 6 games, it won't be because of Shadir Sanders. He's gonna do his thing. Hoop Jargon says average to good arm, decent athleticism, good instincts, third or fourth rounder at best. Salute to him though. Yeah, Jacoby Brissett. I'm not changing my opinion. You got Jim Nagy, Hoop Jargon. Jim Nagy went off on someone that said, "Oh, this is a fake report." By the way, they could see Shadir as a top 5, and I've never saw that, but I did see future NFL quarterback that will play for a long time because he has the football IQ and understanding of the game. That's always been a constant. Yeah, 5 or 6 game wins is a major improvement. That is true. But back to JSU and many other SWAC schools. Look out for PV. Y'all gonna be hearing it till the cows come home. Look out for PV. That running game with Caleb Johnson is gonna be like nitrous. It's gonna be like nitrous. That's the one player in the transfer portal that went to a school that's the perfect fit. He has never, meaning Caleb Johnson, played with an offensive line that efficient. Their two deep comes back. And all PV has to do is upgrade the quarterback position. I know they returned the senior quarterback, but if I was PV, I would go in that portal and get somebody that has played in top-notch competition. Because if I'm a QB that has played in the FBS competition, smart, can run when I need to, throw what I need to, PV is the perfect team for you because you don't have to do much. All you got to do is make that third read. If they're stopping a run, make that third read. That's all you got to do. Tell me if I'm lying, family. Lawrence says they ranked him 8th best in the Pac-12. Yeah, the Pac-12 is loaded at quarterback. Washington has a quarterback. Washington State has a quarterback. Oregon has a quarterback. USC has a quarterback. UCLA has a quarterback. Oregon State has a quarterback. Utah has a quarterback. Yeah, I'm going to keep naming them now. Shoot, Arizona has a quarterback. That conference is deep at quarterback. Right, Franklin. So nobody was hating when when we predicted. When I said 6 wins, I was actually being nice because I saw people saying 3 wins, which is possible too. Basically, Jawan Pass 2.0, that would be a good fit, but with more football IQ, nothing against Pass, but I think someone cerebral. Yeah, I can't wait to see just the competition in the SWAC. And let's not forget the MEAC. MEAC's going to be good. North Carolina Central and Davius Richard. I don't think they'll lose a game in the MEAC, but you never know. Shoot, maybe it's Morgan State. Maybe they can get a win. Morgan State's going to have a top-notch defense. And I'm saying it earlier before this gets popular, Morgan State will be a sleeper team in the MEAC. And if they get that offense rolling, look out. Y'all heard it first. And I'm not the only one that said it. There's been some people that called into the show of HBCU Overdrive that mentioned it before as well. And we got Hoojar. He said, yeah, if they get a quarterback, he's saying that's a championship. Can you imagine if PV gets a D1 quarterback that's played in meaningful games? Somewhat. It doesn't matter if it's SEC or Sun Belt, it doesn't matter. They come in to PV and the coach tells them, this is their pitch. All you have to do is hit the open man. just at least accurately, because they're going to be there. The run game is going to be so good for PV. There's going to be open receivers. Franklin says those teams has talent around their quarterbacks out west. Yep. Yeah, PV has been in the mix for 2 years. That's why PV got to support their team. PV really got to support their team. They've been winning. Last year wasn't their best year because there was games they could have won. They actually could have went to the Swac championship game again, and they lost to who? I think they lost to. Correct me if I'm wrong, family. Mississippi Valley State. Lawrence says I like Morgan State. I just like their defensive coaches, Coach Sewell and them, and they have athletes. They have the lineman has size, man. Like these are some monsters. Their D-line is ferocious. I'm telling you right now, if you sleep on Morgan State, it's going to be a long day. They're going to be one of the surprise teams, and you never know. If Morgan State wins the MEAC, I would not be surprised, even though North Carolina Central is a talented team that returns quite a few people, especially their star quarterback, Davius Richards. It's just something about Morgan State. They're a sleeping giant. And I go a step further. Not only do I believe that Morgan State is a sleeping giant, they have something. They've been recruiting well as well. They're going in that DMV area, which we know that has talent. They're going into Florida, and they're getting nothing but dogs. This is something that can last for a long time with Morgan State. Franklin says Mississippi Valley State is going to upset some teams this year. They have a quarterback from New Mexico State that transferred in. Now, New Mexico State is not a winning team, but he put up some normal numbers. And a quarterback from the FBS that can put up normal numbers can put up solid numbers in the SWAC. They got a running back from JUCO that's really good. They recruited really very well. They're not going to be a pushover team at all. If you go into that game against Valley and you think that you're going to roll over Valley, you may lose that game. You may lose that game. Who Jargon also agrees. He said Morgan State will be a premier HBCU program. Watch. They will be. They will be. That's why it's so important we need all SWAC teams to improve in the trenches offensively and defensively. Because if you do not, and let's say Morgan State becomes a power, you're gonna have to deal with them for years. As long as the coach is there. Exactly. Look at Who Jargon's comment. Morgan State is Bowie State with a bigger budget. Watch them work. That is scary. That is very scary. Look at them. Morgan State, the Bowie State with a bigger budget and a good alumni. Yeah, I'm telling you, that's the team everybody's watching out for. Lawrence Q says a lot of SWAC teams are good quarterback away from being a contender. Southern, Bama State, JSU, PV. I think JSU has found their quarterback. I think Brown will be the starter. That's just my opinion. Unless Philip Short takes the next step. Now, Philip Short has the talent as a pocket passer. You never know. Maybe he has a good offseason. Hey, this is a reason why to check out Who Jargon Media Network. He interviews with coaches. He's well versed in the HBCU space. And those interviews are gems. To be honest, those interviews, they need to be like 5K to 10K. And I'm not just saying it because I'm cool with Hoop Jargon. I'm just telling you the stuff that you hear from the coaching interviews, the player interviews, you hear the gems. You hear the stuff that you'll be like, man, I didn't even know this about this team. He said, I talked to Sewell last week. Man, I love that dude. Man, Coach Sewell's a real one, man. Coach Sewell's a real one. And he going to have that defense running in all cylinders. And this is another bold prediction. I'm not saying this may be next year's draft or 2025 draft, but if this defense is as good as I think it will be, not just next year, but the following years, Morgan State will most likely have a draft pick from their team. Someone will get drafted from that defense. I'm not saying it'll be next year or 2025, but if it's as good as I know it will be, they will have a player or two getting drafted from that defense. If you don't believe me, ask the Blue Bloods, and the Blue Bloods already confirmed that this will be one of the best defenses in the FCS. Morgan State. Yeah, I saw glimpses of that, Lawrence, last year. I actually saw a couple of games. Who did they play last year that was in the FBS? Morgan State played. I forgot. They played them really good, and then it was a regular blowout because of depth. But that defense was hidden out there, and they could cover. Their DBs are elite in regards to FCS level. He said, don't forget McDonald at JSU. Yeah, I won't forget him neither. I'm glad there's a quarterback competition for JSU. This is what you want if you're a JSU fan. You want competition all the way around. You don't want anybody getting positions just because of anything. You want them to earn it. But this has been a great stream. I had fun talking with you all. Y'all stay blessed out there. Peace and blessings. And I'm out.